The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council Hall sparkled under the light of 3 suns. Inside, beings from 100 worlds gathered in tiered seating. Their voices, some high and whistling, others deep and rumbling, filled the hall with a constant hum. Ambassador James Reed sat straight-backed in the human section. His blue uniform looked plain next to the colorful robes and natural plumage of other species. A small Earth flag pin on his collar was his only decoration. His face showed nothing, but his fingers tapped silently against his leg. The Council will now hear the emergency request from Earth Colony Delta 7, announced the Council speaker, a tall being with gold skin that seemed to glow. Reed stood up. "Thank you, Speaker Morn." He cleared his throat. Delta 7 has suffered complete crop failure for the 2nd season. Our food stores will run out in 15 days. We ask the Council to approve emergency food aid as outlined in Section 12 of the Trade Agreement. Murmurs spread through the hall. Reed continued, 6,000 human colonists will face starvation. We have the credits to pay. We only need Council approval to move supplies through Sector 4. The speaker nodded. The Council recognizes Ambassador Tull of the Bricon Federation. A bulky creature with 4 arms rose from his seat. His voice boomed through the hall. The Bricon Federation sympathizes with Earth's problem. However, Sector 4 is currently busy with our own shipments. Perhaps humans should have planned better. This is the 2nd crop failure, after all. Reed's jaw tightened. The first failure was due to an unexpected fungal mutation. We have since developed resistant crops, but they need time to grow. We simply need emergency aid too. Perhaps, interrupted Ambassador Tull, humans are not suited for farming on Delta 7. Maybe you should abandon the colony. Other voices joined in. Delta 7 borders our space. We have concerns about human expansion. Earth has 3 other colonies. Surely they can take in these people. Reed raised his voice. The Treaty of New Mars guarantees our right to Delta 7. We are not asking for charity. We are asking for the aid we are entitled to by law. The speaker raised a hand for quiet. The Council will vote. Reed watched as the voting lights blinked across the hall. Red, red, red. Across the board, votes against human aid lit up the display. Only a handful of green lights shone among the sea of red. The motion is denied, announced the speaker. Reed stood motionless. This was the 4th human request denied this month. Behind him, his assistant Tom whispered something, but Reed barely heard. His communication device buzzed in his pocket. Reed glanced at it, and for the first time, his carefully controlled expression cracked. His face went pale. "Ambassador Reed," said the speaker, "do you wish to make another proposal?" Reed looked up slowly. The message on his device burned in his mind. DELT 7. First DEATHS reported 43 children, 128 adults. Medical supplies depleted. He walked to the center of the floor, ignoring protocol. The hall fell silent at this breach of procedure. For 80 years, Reed said, his voice steady but cold, humanity has played by your rules. We joined your council. We share our resources. We fought in your wars. He looked around the hall, meeting alien eyes. And what have we received? Denied requests, trade restrictions, and now you have sentenced our people to death. The speaker rose. Ambassador Reed, this is not the proper. My government has authorized me to make a final statement. Reed interrupted. He pulled a small device from his pocket and pressed it. Every screen in the hall suddenly showed the same image. Dead human children, lined up in a makeshift morgue on Delta 7. Gasps echoed through the chamber. As of this moment, humanity withdraws from all diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council and its member species. All treaties are suspended. All trade agreements are canceled. All human representatives are being recalled from your worlds. Chaos erupted. Ambassadors jumped to their feet, shouting questions and protests. Reed's voice cut through the noise. You had your chance for peace. You chose politics over lives. Now you will learn what it means to face humanity without the protection of diplomacy." He unpinned the Earth flag from his collar and dropped it on the floor. Then he turned and walked out of the council hall, leaving stunned silence behind him. As the great doors closed, the emergency alarms began to sound. The breaking point had arrived. Across the galaxy, human ambassadors received the same message. The encryption was the highest level, Phoenix Protocol. None had ever expected to see it used. Ambassador Liz Wilson was in the middle of trade negotiations on the planet Cora when her comm unit flashed red. She excused herself from the startled Coran officials and stepped into a private chamber. "Wilson here," she said as she activated the secure line. Reed's face appeared, grim and tired. "Phoenix Protocol is active. You have 6 hours to leave Coran space." "James, what happened?" Wilson asked, her voice dropping to a whisper. "They let our people die." "Liz, Delta 7. I just received confirmation of 171 deaths, mostly children and elderly. The council denied our emergency aid request." Wilson's hand went to her mouth. "No, it's done. Humanity is pulling out. All diplomatic ties severed. I've already informed the council." 6 hours, Wilson repeated, her training taking over. "Understood." The same scene played out on 27 worlds. Human diplomats abruptly canceled meetings, packed essential items, and boarded their ships. No explanations were given beyond a formal notice. The Earth Federation hereby terminates all diplomatic relations. On the military carrier Armstrong *, Fleet Admiral Marcus paced the bridge. Status reports flooded in from across human space. "All ships accounted for, sir," reported Commander Banks. 93% of diplomatic personnel are already in transit to human space. The remaining 7% will cross our borders within 12 hours. Marcus nodded. "And the defensive grid?" "Coming online now, sir." The massive view screen showed a map of human territory. Small blue dots began lighting up along the borders, automated defense platforms that had been secretly positioned over the past decade, disguised as research stations or communication relays. "What about civilian vessels?" Marcus asked. "Most commercial captains are complying with the recall. We have 15 ships that have opted to remain in alien space. They've been informed they're on their own." Marcus stared at the map. "Begin Operation Fortress. I want all approach vectors to Sol covered within 24 hours." In the Galactic Council Hall, chaos reigned. The emergency session had been going for hours, but no progress had been made. Council Leader Dorn, a tall, slender being with silvery skin, tried to maintain order. "Please, we must approach this rationally." Ambassador Tull of the Bricon Federation pounded his 4 fists on the table. "The humans are bluffing. They cannot survive without council trade." "Is that so?" asked Ambassador Vreen of the Meraki. Her voice was soft, but carried through the hall. "May I remind this council that 40% of our medical supplies come from human worlds. That human ships transport 16% of all council goods. That human peacekeepers maintain stability in 11 disputed regions." Silence fell as the implications sank in. Dorn spoke into the quiet. "I have attempted to contact Earth's government 6 times. Each time, I receive only an automated message. The Earth Federation has terminated all diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council and its member species. This channel is no longer monitored." "What are they planning?" asked a nervous voice from the back. In his private chambers on Earth, President Morgan reviewed the reports. The last human ships were crossing into protected space. The defense grid was nearly complete. "Any response from the council?" he asked his chief of staff. "Multiple attempts at contact, sir. Following protocol, all are receiving the automated response." Morgan nodded. He looked tired but determined. "And Delta 7? Emergency supplies arrived an hour ago. No more casualties reported. The colony is stabilizing." "Too late for the 171, Morgan said quietly. He walked to the window, looking out at the gleaming towers of New Washington. For 80 years, we bent over backwards to fit into their galactic community. We followed their rules. We accepted second-class status. We hoped eventually they would see us as equals. He turned back. Begin Phase 2. I want all the technology we've been holding back to go into immediate production. If they won't treat us as partners, they'll learn to respect us as equals or fear us as enemies. Yes, Mr. President. The recall is complete, Morgan said, more to himself than to his staff. Now we show them who we really are. Across human space, factories that had been dormant roared to life. Research facilities declassified projects that had been hidden for decades. And at the borders of human territory, the defensive grid glowed with power, a clear message to any who approached. Humanity had withdrawn and was preparing. 2 weeks after humanity's withdrawal, a Bricon scout ship approached the border of human space. Captain Grull was under orders to test the humans' defenses. Nothing aggressive, just a simple scan to see what they were dealing with. Approaching human territory, Captain reported his navigator. No signs of activity. Grull nodded. The Bricon Federation had never taken humans very seriously. Their technology was decent, but nothing special. Their ships were sturdy but unimpressive. And most importantly, they had always been so eager to please, so willing to compromise. Take us to scanning range, Grull ordered. Standard procedure. The ship glided forward. The border was invisible, of course, just a line on star charts that marked the beginning of human-claimed space. Suddenly, the ship's sensors blared a warning. Energy signature detected, called out the sensor officer. It's massive. And it wasn't there a second ago. Before them, space itself seemed to shimmer. A structure appeared, as if emerging from invisibility. It was a platform of some kind, sleek and dark, with multiple weapon ports that were already opening. Impossible, whispered Grull. Our scans showed nothing. A communication channel opened automatically. A calm human voice spoke. Bricon vessel, you are approaching Earth Federation space. Reverse course immediately. Grull found his voice. This is Captain Grull of the Bricon Federation. We are on a peaceful mission off. Reverse course immediately, repeated the voice. This is your final warning. The weapons ports on the platform glowed with energy. Turn us around, Grull shouted. Full reverse. As the ship spun and accelerated away, Grull stared at the sensor readings. The platform was unlike anything in the galactic database. Its energy signature was off the charts, and its stealth technology had completely hidden it until they were almost on top of it. Send a message to command, Grull ordered. The humans have technology we've never seen before. In the underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth, Dr. Helen Park watched the test results with satisfaction. Around her, a team of scientists monitored dozens of screens showing similar encounters all along humanity's borders. Platform 37 just successfully deterred a Veloxian scout, reported one technician. Their scanning equipment never detected it until we allowed it to be seen. Dr. Park nodded. And the quantum communication network? 100% operational, Doctor. All platforms are linked with zero lag time, regardless of distance. This was the technology the Galactic Council had feared most, instant communication across any distance. Humans had discovered it 15 years ago, but had kept it hidden. The Council's laws restricted faster-than-light communication, claiming it was dangerous. Now humanity no longer cared about those laws. Begin deploying Phase 2 defenses, Dr. Park ordered. She turned to face Admiral Marcus, who had been silently observing. The shield network can be operational within 5 days. Marcus raised an eyebrow. A shield around all of human space. The energy requirements must be. We solved that problem 3 years ago, Dr. Park interrupted with a small smile. The Fusion Enhancement Project. We've been running it at 1% capacity for council inspections. At full power, We can generate enough energy to shield every human world and colony. Marcus shook his head in wonder. All this time, we had this capability. President Morgan and the previous administration decided it was safer to appear less advanced while we built up our strength, Dr. Park explained. The Council has a history of eliminating potential threats. On the Galactic Council homeworld, Leader Dorn reviewed the growing pile of reports with increasing alarm. "This can't be right," he muttered, showing a data pad to his security chief. "The humans have deployed over 300 defense platforms, each with technology that matches or exceeds our most advanced systems." The security chief, a gruff four-armed being named Krell, growled. "They've been lying to us for years, hiding their true capabilities. Or perhaps," Dorn said quietly, "we gave them no choice." The door to his chamber burst open. Ambassador Tull stormed in, his normally blue face flushed purple with rage. "The humans just destroyed one of our ships," he shouted. Dorn rose to his feet. "What? When?" 3 hours ago. A research vessel that accidentally crossed into their territory. They gave one warning and then vaporized it." Krell stepped forward. "Were you planning an attack, Tull? The humans have made it clear they will defend their borders." Tull's 4 fists clenched. "It was a scientific vessel, with military-grade scanning equipment and prototype weapons," Krell countered. "Our intelligence is quite thorough." Dorn raised his hands for silence. "This does us no good. The situation is clear. Humanity is no longer the junior partner we thought they were. They have built a fortress in space, and they have the means to defend it." He looked out at the glittering city beyond his window. "The question now is, what else have they been hiding?" 1 month after humanity's withdrawal, the effects rippled across the galaxy. On the border between Taurian and Veloxian space, warning shots had become actual fire. Captain Mira of the Taurian Defense Force watched from the bridge of her cruiser as the Veloxian ships approached the contested moon of Kaler. "They're moving into the neutral zone," her first officer reported. "Standard formation." Mira frowned. "Where are the human peacekeepers who usually patrol this sector?" "Gone," said the first officer. "Recalled to Earth space 3 weeks ago." For decades, human ships had served as neutral peacekeepers in disputed regions. Their presence had kept old enemies from reigniting ancient wars. Now that stabilizing force was gone. "The Veloxians are launching mining drones toward Kaler," the sensor officer called out. "They're making their move." Mira took a deep breath. Her orders were clear. Kaler's resources belong to the Taurian people. Target their lead ship. Warning shots only. The cruiser's weapons fired, energy beams slicing through space just ahead of the Veloxian vessels. Instead of backing down, the Veloxian ships broke formation, spreading out into attack positions. "They're powering weapons," shouted the sensor officer. Mira gripped her command chair. "Shields up. Return fire." The first real battle for Kaler had begun. On the trade hub world of Nexus, food riots entered their 3rd day. Mayor Ganto watched from his office window as the crowds below smashed storefronts and fought over dwindling supplies. His aide stood nervously at his side. "The next shipment?" Ganto asked. The aide shook his head. "Delayed again. The shipping company says without human transport vessels. They're overloaded. They can't give us a firm arrival date." Before humanity's withdrawal, Earth ships had carried nearly 20% of all trade goods in the galaxy. Their efficient vessels and reliable schedules had kept countless worlds supplied with necessities. That network had collapsed overnight. "What about our emergency reserves?" Ganto asked. "We're already using them. At current consumption rates, we have perhaps 8 days left." Ganto closed his eyes briefly. "And the Council? They say every world must manage its own resources for now." Below, the sound of breaking glass and angry shouts grew louder. In the private chambers of the Galactic Council, an emergency session had been called. Only the highest-ranking members were present. Council Leader Dorn looked exhausted. Dark circles showed under his silvery eyes as he reviewed the latest reports. 17 active conflicts have broken out in formerly peaceful regions, he announced. Trade is down 34% across all sectors. Food shortages are affecting over 200 worlds. Ambassador Vreen of the Meraki leaned forward. And what of the medical crisis? My people relied on human pharmaceuticals. Production of alternative medicines is underway, Dorn replied. But the humans held certain patents. It will take time to reverse engineer their formulas. Ambassador Krex of the Zaltari, a species known for their analytical minds, spoke up. We have underestimated humanity's role in galactic stability. Their withdrawal has created a power vacuum that is leading to chaos. Around the table, heads nodded in reluctant agreement. There's more, Dorn said grimly. 3 other species have now closed their borders following humanity's example. The Arcanian Collective, the Nomari Republic, and the Jadari Assembly have all reduced their diplomatic presence and increased military readiness. A shocked silence fell over the room. They're following humanity's lead, Krex observed. This could trigger a domino effect of isolationism across the galaxy. Ambassador Toll of the Bricon Federation, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke. The humans were never the weak link we thought they were. They were the glue holding much of our system together. Dorn nodded slowly, and we never noticed until they were gone. An aide rushed into the chamber, breaking protocol. Urgent news, Council Leader. The Taurians and Veloxians have entered open warfare over Kaler. Both sides are moving in their main fleets. Dorn stood quickly. Deploy peacekeeping forces immediately. The aide looked uncomfortable. Sir, our available peacekeepers are already deployed to 15 other conflicts. We have no ships to send. For the first time in centuries, real fear showed on the Council Leader's face. Then we need to contact Earth. Immediately, before this gets any worse. And offer them what? Asked Krex. They have shown they don't need us. We, it seems, needed them. Outside the council chamber, distant in space but drawing ever closer, the sounds of war grew louder. Council Leader Dorn stood before the small group of volunteers. Only 7 had agreed to join his desperate mission to Earth. They represented the few species who had maintained good relations with humanity over the years. I cannot guarantee your safety, Dorn told them frankly. The humans have destroyed ships that crossed their borders. This mission could end with our deaths. Ambassador Vreen of the Meraki nodded. Her translucent skin showed the rapid flow of her circulatory system, a sign of anxiety in her species. Yet we must try. Another 17 worlds reported food shortages yesterday. Beside her, Representative Talon of the Avari flexed his wing-like arms. The humans were fair to my people when we faced extinction. They may listen to me, at least. Dorn looked at each of them in turn. Our ship is ready. We have gathered evidence of the suffering caused by humanity's withdrawal. We can only hope they will care. The sleek diplomatic vessel waited in the hangar. It had been stripped of all weapons and scanning equipment. Its hull had been painted white, with the universal symbol for truce, a broken weapon over joined hands. Will this be enough? Asked Talon, looking at the ship. It must be, said Dorn. We have no other options. On the edge of human space, Admiral Marcus received the alert. Unknown vessel approaching the Proxima border, reported Commander Banks. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, claiming to be a diplomatic mission from the Galactic Council. Marcus frowned. Scanned them. Already done, sir. No weapons. Minimal shielding. 7 life forms on board, all from different species. A communication officer spoke up. Sir, one of them is identifying himself as Council Leader Dorn. Marcus of eyebrows rose in surprise. The head of the Galactic Council, risking his life to enter human space. This was unexpected. They're requesting permission to proceed to Earth, Banks continued. They say it's a matter of galactic importance. Marcus tapped his fingers on the arm of his chair. The standing orders were clear. No alien ships in human space. But this was no ordinary ship. Put me through to Earth Command, he ordered. President Morgan listened to Admiral Marcus's report with a thoughtful expression. "And you believe this is a genuine diplomatic mission?" he asked. "Yes, Mr. President. Our scans confirm their ship is unarmed. And Council Leader Dorn would not risk his life unless the situation were dire." Morgan turned to look at Ambassador Reed, who had been recalled to serve as his chief advisor on alien affairs. "What do you think, James?" Reed's face remained carefully neutral. Dorn was one of the few who voted in favor of aid to Delta 7. He's less prejudiced than most council members. But can we trust him? "No," Reed said bluntly, "but we can listen to what he has to say, without officially recognizing him as a diplomat." Morgan nodded slowly. "Very well. Admiral, allow their ship to proceed to Luna Station. They are not to set foot on Earth itself, and they are to be considered visitors, not diplomatic representatives." "Understood, Mr. President." After the communication ended, Morgan turned back to Reed. "You don't seem surprised by this development." Reed gave a small, grim smile. "I told them what would happen if they pushed us too far. They didn't listen. Now they're learning the hard way. And the suffering. The conflicts breaking out across the galaxy. Not our problem," Reed said, but his voice lacked conviction. Morgan sighed. "Prepare a briefing team for Luna Station. I want to know exactly what Dorn brings to the table before I decide our next move." The white diplomatic vessel approached Luna Station cautiously. Through the viewports, Dorn and his team could see Earth hanging in space, a blue and green jewel, now surrounded by dozens of defense platforms. "Look at those defenses," whispered Representative Talon. "They'd been preparing for this for years." Dorn nodded silently. The humans had hidden their true strength for so long. How much else had they concealed? A communication channel opened. "Council vessel, this is Luna Station Control. You are cleared to dock at Bay 12. Be advised. You are being granted visitor status only. No diplomatic recognition is extended to your party." "Understood," Dorn replied. "We are grateful for the opportunity to speak." As their ship glided toward the docking bay, Dorn opened a secure case. Inside were data crystals containing evidence of conflicts, food riots, and medical crises spreading across the galaxy. And beneath them, something else, evidence he had discovered just before leaving, something that might change everything. "We have one chance," he told his team. "One chance to convince humanity that the galaxy needs them." The ship docked with a gentle thud. Through the airlock windows, they could see armed human guards waiting. The desperate mission had reached its most dangerous point. The conference room on Luna Station was plain and functional. No decorations hung on the walls. No refreshments waited on the table. The message was clear. This was not a diplomatic meeting. Council Leader Dorn and his team sat on one side of the long table. Across from them were Admiral Marcus, Ambassador Reed, and 3 stern-faced human officials. "You have 30 minutes, Reed said coldly. "State your purpose." Dorn nodded. "Thank you for seeing us." He activated a holographic projector, and images appeared above the table. Planets in chaos, food riots, medical facilities overwhelmed with patients. In the 6 weeks since humanity's withdrawal, 23 conflicts have erupted across the galaxy. 39 worlds face critical food shortages. The medical crisis affects hundreds of millions. Reed's expression didn't change. "And this concerns Earth how? You made it clear we were not valued members of the galactic community." "We were wrong," Dorn said simply. The admission hung in the air. Admiral Marcus leaned forward slightly. "Go on." "We failed to recognize humanity's vital role in maintaining peace and stability. Your ships, your trade networks, your peacekeepers, they were the foundation that kept many systems functioning." Vreen spoke up, her voice gentle. "My people face extinction without human medical supplies. The Meraki cannot synthesize certain compounds that only Earth's laboratories can produce." Talon spread his wing arms. 3 colony worlds of the Avari have lost contact completely. Without human communication relays, they are isolated. They will die alone. The humans listened silently, their faces revealing nothing. Dorn continued, "We are not here to beg for charity. We are here to acknowledge our mistake and ask what terms humanity would require to return to galactic affairs." Reed smiled thinly. Perhaps the Council should have considered that before letting our people die on Delta 7. Yes, Dorn agreed. We should have. He reached into his case and removed a data crystal. But there is something else you should know. He inserted the crystal into the projector. New images appeared, internal council communications, classified research reports, secret meetings. 3 days before I left, I discovered this, Dorn said. A conspiracy within the council itself. The humans' attention sharpened. The images showed a group of council members meeting in secret, Ambassador Tull among them. For years, a faction within the council has been deliberately suppressing human innovation, Dorn explained. They feared your species' rapid advancement. More images appeared, human research projects that had been denied funding or blocked from wider implementation. Is that? Admiral Marcus began, his composure finally breaking. Yes, Dorn said. Your FTL communication technology. The quantum entanglement system that allows instant communication across any distance. We developed that 15 years ago, said one of the human officials. The council claimed it violated safety protocols. Because they feared it, Dorn said, just as they feared this. The final image showed technical schematics for an advanced propulsion system. Reed stood suddenly. Where did you get this? These are classified Earth documents. From the same conspiracy, Dorn explained. 5 years ago, a human scientist named Dr. Thomas Lee submitted this design to the Galactic Science Academy. A revolutionary FTL drive that would cut travel time between systems by 90%. It would solve resource distribution problems across the galaxy. The room fell silent. The Academy rejected it, Reed said slowly. Said it was theoretically unsound. They lied, Dorn replied. They buried it. Because certain council members believed that if humans solved the galaxy's transportation problems, Earth would become too powerful, too essential. Admiral Marcus shook his head in disgust. So they let people starve rather than let humans gain influence. Yes, Dorn's voice was heavy with shame. I was blind to this corruption. Many of us were. Reed turned to the other humans. We've been developing that drive system anyway. Project Prometheus. It's nearly ready for testing. Dorn nodded. I suspected as much. You stopped sharing your advancements, but you never stopped making them. One of the human officials checked something on her tablet. Sir, I've confirmed these documents are authentic. The conspiracy existed. Council members deliberately suppressed our technology. The air in the room seemed to change. The cold hostility from the humans shifted to something more complex, anger at the betrayal, but also a grim satisfaction at having their suspicions confirmed. What do you want from us? Reed finally asked Dorn. Justice, Dorn replied. Help to reform a broken system, and a chance to build something better, together. Reed and Marcus exchanged a long look. The revelation had changed everything. 1 week after the revelation on Luna Station, the Great Hall of Earth stood ready. Unlike the crystal dome of the Galactic Council, Earth's hall was built of stone and steel, materials that spoke of strength and endurance. President Morgan stood on the central platform. Beside him were Admiral Marcus, Ambassador Reed, and Dr. Helen Park. Facing them were Council Leader Dorn and representatives from 27 major galactic species. This was not a negotiation. It was Earth declaring its terms. For 80 years, Morgan began, humanity reached out in friendship. For 80 years, we were treated as lesser beings. That ends today. Screens around the hall displayed images of human ships delivering emergency aid to worlds in crisis. Even while preparing these terms, Earth had not let innocent beings suffer. We will return to galactic affairs, Morgan continued, but on new terms. Ambassador Reed stepped forward with a datapad. First, The Galactic Council will be restructured. All species will have equal representation. No more tiers of membership. No more second-class citizens. Murmurs spread through the alien representatives, but none objected. Second, those who participated in the conspiracy to suppress human technology will be removed from their positions and face justice under galactic law. Ambassador Toll was notably absent from the gathering. Reports indicated he and 6 others had already been detained by Council security forces. Admiral Marcus spoke next. Third, a joint defense initiative will be established. Human defense technology will be shared with all peaceful worlds. No species should face threats alone. This announcement caused louder reactions. Many had feared humans would use their advanced technology to dominate the galaxy. Instead, they were offering to share it. Dr. Park stepped forward. Fourth, the ban on quantum communication technology will be lifted. Our scientists have proven it is safe. This technology will connect the galaxy as never before. She activated a holographic display showing the new FTL drive system. Fifth, Project Prometheus will be completed as a joint venture. This drive will reduce travel time between star systems by 90%, solving the resource distribution problems that have plagued our galaxy. Dorn looked at the human leaders with newfound respect. They could have demanded much more. They could have used the chaos to establish dominance. Instead, they were offering partnership, but partnership as equals, not subordinates. Finally, President Morgan said, "A truth commission will be established to examine the full extent of the conspiracy against humanity and any other species that may have been similarly treated. The galaxy must know what happened so it never happens again." Morgan looked across the gathered representatives. "These are our terms, non-negotiable." Dorn stood. "As interim council leader, I accept these terms in principle. The full council must vote, but I believe they will see the wisdom in this new path." An Arcanian representative raised a hand. "What guarantees do we have that humans won't use their technological advantage against us in the future?" Reed smiled slightly. "The same guarantee you've always had. In 80 years of mistreatment, did humanity ever once respond with aggression? We had the power to harm you for decades. We chose cooperation instead." The Arcanian lowered his hand, seeming satisfied. "There is another reason to trust us," Morgan added. "Had we wanted domination, we would have simply let the galaxy fall into chaos. Instead, even as we prepared these terms, our ships delivered aid to worlds in need, including those who voted against helping Delta 7. Dr. Park activated another display showing the human ships currently providing assistance throughout the galaxy. "We do not seek to rule," Morgan continued. "We seek a galaxy where all species stand as equals, where technology serves everyone, where the strong protect the vulnerable." He looked at Dorn. "The old council failed that vision. Will the new one do better?" Dorn bowed his head slightly. "With humanity as our partner and our conscience, I believe it will." The meeting ended. As the alien representatives filed out to consider Earth's terms, Ambassador Reed turned to President Morgan. "Do you think they'll accept?" Morgan watched them go. "They have no choice, but more importantly, they know we're right." Reed nodded. "And if they refuse?" "Then humanity continues alone," Morgan said simply. "We've proven we can." But the look that passed between the alien representatives suggested a different outcome. The galaxy had glimpsed a future without humanity, and found it wanting. The new terms weren't just demands. They were a blueprint for a better future. A future built not on dominance, but on equality. Not on fear, but on respect. The stars awaited.